Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to recognize patterns in the graphs of linear functions, and we're learning how to determine how the slope and y-intercept will affect the graph of a linear function. How are we learning it? Through the Graphing Linear Functions Desmos Discovery assignment. When could we use this? To complete a variety of tasks through trial and error rather than having to be formally taught the procedures. How do we know we learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the Graphing Linear Functions Desmos Discovery assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We'll begin our lesson by going over the learning goals and success criteria. And while we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you're done with your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. Then after that, we'll get into the Graphing Linear Functions Desmos Discovery activity, which is on Desmos. So you'll be given time to complete that. Once you're done with that, we'll go over it together and discuss any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria. And while we do that, you'll fill out your before you go. Your only homework for tonight is to continue working on the linear equations and inequality study guide and work on any incomplete assignments that you may have.
Let's talk now about how to sign in to Desmos to complete your work. So what we're going to do is you're going to click on the link to go to the assignment, and it should take you to a page that looks kind of like this. And right here where it says sign in with Google, we're going to click there. And it's going to pop up with our email accounts. You're going to click on your school email account, and it should already have you logged in because you should have already been logged in using Google Classroom. From there, I'm just going to click Start the Activity, and it will take me into the assignment and allow me to begin. So that's how you will log in to Desmos using Google.
Let's take a look now at the Graphing Linear Functions Desmos Discovery activity. So it starts at the top with our learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, there's a link here that takes us to the Desmos assignment. If we click on that link, it should take us to a page that looks like this. We're going to go ahead and click Start the Activity. And it begins with our learning goals and success criteria. We're going to go ahead and click Next. And on this one it says there's 2 lines graphed. The equation for the red line is y equals x, and the equation for the blue line is y equals 1/2 x. It says, what differences do you notice in the equations of the lines? Well, I can say that the red line does not contain a coefficient or a number in front of the x. The blue line does contain a coefficient in front of the x, and that number is, and I'm going to go ahead and use this symbol to make sure it types math, 1/2. So all I did was state what the difference was in the equation. Now what do I notice in the graphs? Well, I noticed that the blue line is not as steep as the red line. The red line is a lot more steep. It goes up faster. So the blue line is not as steep as the red line. And then I move on to the next one. And I do the same thing. This one says y equals x and y equals negative x. Well, what do we notice in the difference of the equations? The red line has a positive x value, and the blue line has a negative x value. And what do I notice is a difference in the graphs? Well, the blue line goes down from left to right, and the red line goes up from left and right. So the red line goes up from left to right, and the blue line goes down from left to right. And then you'll click Next again, and you'll answer that for each of these. You'll take a look at all these different linear equations and decide what the differences are in their equations and the differences in their graphs. So you'll answer each of these. And then when you get to slide 12, you're going to make some generalizations, some observations. So once we get here, it says if the function contains an x value but no y value, what does the graph of the function look like? Well, based on what we did with the graphs, you should be able to answer these questions. So you'll answer each of these questions. When you're done, you'll go back to your Google form, click Next. This will take you to your Before You Go. You'll answer your Before You Go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.